a interview with Lewis from Money Buddies, and I will ask him to introduce himself in just a second. But what we are going to be focusing on today in the interview is about helping young people to make the most out of money and learning how to be financially capable. So if that is something that interests you, then make sure you stay tuned. I will now ask Lewis to introduce himself.
Hi everyone. My name's Lewis. I'm the debt advice team leader at Money Buddies. So we're a charity based in Leeds, and we exist to help people with the finances. Our main aim is to empower individuals to manage the money, help them reduce the bills and outgoings, and also deal with debts so they can live a financially stable life, free from the stress of money management.
Perfect, thank you. My first question was, could you tell me about your organisation? But you've already answered it, so thank you. Could you go into a little bit more detail about the kind of support that you offer?
Yeah, no worries. So we help a lot with financial capability. So that really comes down to sort of helping people create budgets, which is a big step to understanding what money you have coming in and where it goes every month. If you ever sat down and gone, well, that money went first.
Yeah.
A budget really helps to sort of see where it's gone.
Yes.
And we also provide more support with sort of ways you can increase your income and reduce your outgoings. So your money goes where it needs to go rather than where it shouldn't.
Yes.
We also provide energy support and help them with things like reducing energy bills, making home as efficient as possible, finding cheaper suppliers, which currently is very difficult, but it's something that we do look into. And a large part of that service also includes looking at benefit assessments. So making sure people who are eligible for benefit claims are claiming what they are entitled to and not missing out, because you'd be very surprised at the large amount of people who do miss out on things that they should be able to claim. And
Sorry, carry on.
Right. It's all right. And the last part of the service is that you provide a legal debt advice service as well. That looks at different ways of dealing with individuals' debts through different solutions, whether that's asking for a bit of time and space to improve your situation, to making payments that are affordable for the individual, or even things like insolvencies, so we clears the debt, gives you a fresh start. All this is a free service that we provide. There's no cost, there's no judgment, and the conversations we have stay with us. So it is confidential as well.
That's amazing. The fact that people have that quite, easily accessible to people is incredible. And I suppose as well, with things of like living costs increasing, especially today, it's something that's really, really important. So what do the terms financial capability and financial vulnerability mean?
Okay, so financial capability is kind of says about how well a person manages the money. So it's about making sure you have the money to cover your household bills and essential costs, such as food and travel. If you're able to cover all that and you don't have too many stress, you could say that you're a person with good financial capability. Although there's a lot of people who don't have that ability and they struggle. So when we're talking about financial capability, it really is about how well you manage your money on a month by month or week by week basis. You compare that into financially vulnerable. And financially vulnerable are the people who, that despite their best efforts, they just simply cannot control the money. And that could come down to a lot of people just simply don't have enough to go around. They're on incredibly low incomes, or they're on benefits that aren't suitable enough or pay enough to cover everything. And then you have other sort of things to consider too. Like you might have people with mental health conditions that mean they really struggle with impulse control.
Yep.
They kind of wake up one day and the answer to all their problems is this one thing that they need to get. And so they spend a lot of money that they can't afford to, and it leads to lots of issues. You have elderly people and the disabled who can be easily taken advantage of by the people they care or trust. And I'd also say you have young people in this category as well, because they're new to the world of money.
Yeah.
And you don't always get given a thorough understanding of how it works and the long-term impacts things are going to have for you.
So going on from that, you've just mentioned young people. 82% of young people in the 17 to 18 age group say that they worry about money. And so why is it so important that when you're younger, you learn how to manage money and be financially capable?
So it's about instilling good habits at a young age.
Yeah.
If you consider a lot of other things in life, and you're taught from a young age, eat vegetables and fruits is good, healthy things for you. Great, and that forms a habit going into life. Not everybody lives by it, but at least when you sit down to it, then you go, okay, I need to make sure there's some healthy stuff in there. It's a similar thing. The earlier you install good financial habits, the more benefit somebody will have long term in life. And if you consider that when you're young, a lot of what you can earn is quite limited.
Mm.
The 17 to 18 age group, for example, your national minimum wage, if you're 18, is £6.83 an hour.
Mm.
If you're younger than that, it's £4.81, and that's the same for your apprentice.
Mm.
So you're really limited in what income you've got. And there's an old assumption that this is because you may live with your parents, they cover all your expenses, you're not paying gas, electricity bills, etc., etc. So you don't need as much money. So the laws kind of limit what you can earn to
Mm.
some degree. It's quite backwards, if you ask me.
Mm.
Uh, but that also is quite outdated. More and more families are having to bind together now to deal with the cost of living. So young people are being asked to contribute more towards
Yeah.
household bills or take care of their own costs. Um, and that means that having that financial education early on and sort of giving them that capability will help them manage that money, form those better habits. So when they go forward in life, they don't have this sort of lack of experience or lack of knowledge of what credit will do if you take too much out,
Yeah.
and how to sort of save and prepare for the future.
Yeah, no, and I think as well, I've worked like part-time since I was, I think, 15, 16. I didn't do
Yeah.
a huge amount of hours, but I was getting paid a very low wage, and
Mm,
I did not appreciate something as simple as
mm,
budgeting until I was maybe 18, and then I had college, and it was more getting buses around and transport rather than my parents, and it the money, it just, it goes. And if I didn't really think about putting money into maybe, more necessities, and then also putting money into essentials,
yeah,
that I had never really been taught about it in school as well, and it was something that always surprised me because it's
yeah.
so important.
Well, if you look at FinCap, the financialcapability.org
Yeah.
charity, they their studies show that sort of 4 in 10 children have any kind of financial education before
Yeah.
they leave school. Well, that is kind of really horrendous to think about.
Mm.
People leaving school, they get in some money and they have no real idea of how it works or how to budget and make it work for them.
Mm.
And there's also, in my opinion, there's a lot of advertising pressure on young people to keep up with things, keep up with the latest tech, keep up with the latest
Yeah.
clothes.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
was the last time you saw an iPhone advert and the person in the advert was 62 going,
Mm.
"Oh, look how
Yeah.
great this is."
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's not, it's a bunch of young people. It's always targeted at that sort of demographic
Mm.
because it seems to have a lot of disposable income. So there's a lot of external pressure, and that can lead to, as soon as you're 18, you're offered credit quite easily and freely.
Mm. Be.
Contracts are available, and finance becomes a thing. And
Mm.
you have that instant pressure. And if you don't have those good habits early on, you can end up in a situation where you've got a very large amount of debt very early on in your life. And that can have a big impact for years and years to come.
Yeah, and as well, thinking about it, if you've come from a household that doesn't have the financials to be able to, if you were, say you were 18 and then you accidentally took care of your money in not the best way, then it makes it even harder for people who don't have what they need to get out of difficult situations too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. If you don't have that education plan behind you, if you're not fortunate enough to have a family with finance behind them,
Yeah.
you are going to struggle with things that pop up in the future.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
exactly. So can you explain to me how planning for the future has become more relevant to young people? As we mentioned before, the increase in just the price for living, and also tough competition for jobs, especially at the moment, it's really, really hard for some people to become employed. And then also, if you decide to do further education, the amount of student debt people unfortunately
yeah.
have accumulate, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it really is. I think the last study I looked at was around about £50,000 if you've done a basic
Yeah.
sort of degree access course.
Yeah.
If you go on to do a master's and a PhD, that's going to double or triple. It's so expensive to go through university these days, and which really puts a lot of people at a disadvantage going through life. Um, but as a young person, sort of in that situation, if you did a basic degree, you're coming out of that at age 21,
Yeah.
22, where you've done 3 or 4 years. And then you put in a situation where you're job seeking.
Huh.
And the only support you're going to get through that comes from benefits universal credit. And if you look at universal credit, again, because you're under the age of 25, we pay less than everybody else. So you get more financial pressure on you to try and make ends meet on a lower income.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to help when you're looking at a job, because all your hopes and dreams when you're in that interview, you're like, this job is going to solve my financial problem. I get this job, it's going to mean I can do all these kind of things. And it is a whole extra level of pressure. And once you said, there's a lot of tough competition for jobs these days,
Mm.
because there's a lot of people out there job hunting. So there's a lot of stress over money with all that kind of thing too, and it's harder to keep cool in an interview when you've got those issues. And in taking into account as well, having good financial planning from a young age can make a big difference. So if you've gone through university, having a part-time job helps. You could be making savings for all that
Mm-hmm.
time, and savings help when things pop up. And there's also less ability for families to support young individuals because of the financial crisis. Um, and so again, having those skills is hugely, hugely important to get them early and sort of learn how to manage your money.